Hey, it's Julie Kalen, your favorite happiness and relationship coach, voiceover artist, songstress, singer-songwriter, and actress. And I am so happy to be back, everyone. I had been out for over a month, resting and recovering after a big surgery I had. And thank you so much for all of the well wishes. And the love and the prayers that you guys have been giving me through social media and email and all of that. It is greatly appreciated. I love you guys so much. And I thought this was actually the perfect opportunity to talk a bit about fear. Because this surgery that I had, actually, I had been putting off for many years, and the doctors were telling me, "Oh, you really should do something about this." And I think thanks to the power of positivity, I did well and exceeded my doctor's expectations for like many years where I didn't need that surgery. But eventually it got to a point where, I really did need to get something done. And, too, I had come to a phase, I think, in my spiritual development too. For many years, I used to have like a ton of fears and anxieties, actually. Like, I would have lots of panic attacks, tons of anxiety. But then, I had like a spiritual awakening a few years ago, and, that eliminated many of my fears and anxieties. But, no one's perfect, and I still have, some fears and anxieties there. And one of them that I still had was that fear of surgery. That's why I was like, "Oh, I don't really need this. I don't really have to do this, do I?" And the doctors I finally got sick enough where it's like, "Yeah, I do." And so it's like, darn. But you know, I think there comes a point where God or the divine or whatever you believe in there, will push you to a point of having to overcome your fears, because I do think it is a part of soul growth where when you have these challenges in your life, it gives you an opportunity to grow. Not only physically, but of course, emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And when you overcome those challenges and those fears and those anxieties, you grow as a person and you realize just how strong you really are. Oftentimes, you are a lot stronger than you ever thought possible. And so, anyway, I want to talk a little bit about one strategy for overcoming fear and anxiety that I learned many years ago. And I think this could really help you guys. And the strategy is called, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but it's called, what you do is you ask, what's the worst that can happen? And so it's a strategy where you face your fears and your anxieties head on. Because people who have fears and anxieties usually have a very active and vivid imagination. So often, though, the problem is we're always thinking of the worst possible things that could happen. But but just embrace that. So if there's something you're afraid of, think, what's the worst that could happen? And keep asking that question over and over, because sometimes you'll say, "Oh, what's the worst that can happen?" But keep asking the question until you can't possibly ask it anymore. And oftentimes in this exercise, what it's going to happen is you will realize. It'll come to a point where you'll realize, when you keep asking that question over and over again, at the end point, you'll realize that what's the worst that can happen, it's not really that bad. When you get to the end point, you're like, "Oh, well, that's the worst that can happen. That's not really too scary, actually." Um, or part of this too, it could lead to some really humorous answers. And, that humor, of course, is really great for combating anxiety and fears and things like that. So, like an example, I guess for me, for surgery, what I was afraid of a lot is, I had no idea like how bad the pain would be. That was one thing. I mean, I think lots of times we're all afraid of pain, especially like physical pain. I'm just like thinking, then for me, I'm asking like, well, what's the worst that could happen? It's like, well, maybe the doctors will give me pain pills or something. And then, but I'm not like a huge fan of pain pills. And so then it's like, well, what's the worst that can happen if I don't want to take a pain pill? Or it's like, well, I'll be in pain, but I've been in pain before. It's bad. It's not fun, but I'll get through it. I've been in pain before. It always eventually goes away, thank goodness. Or or if it's a longer lasting chronic thing, like your body, your mind will get used to it, kind of like mind over body, and then the experience of pain isn't as bad anymore. And actually too, yeah, after surgery, my pain was bad, and the pain pills weren't helping, but it's like, "Oh, this isn't, interesting." It was an interesting experience. I had pains in places and in muscles I never thought I had places. Never realized I had a muscle there until till after surgery where it's hurting, it's killing you. But, it was an adventure. It was definitely a learning experience. And so think of that, like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, oh, yeah, you got some pain. Um, you have an adventure, though. You learn a lot about your body and about your mind and what you're capable of handling and how you could handle it, and, that was a bad fear of mine about the pain, but, it's like, yeah, I had pain, some substantial pain, but I've had pain in my life before. It's different kinds of pains, different interesting pains, but, made it through it okay. Yeah, so don't let, fear hold you back, because again, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. Another fear, of course, I think anyone with surgery is always that, fear of helplessness lots of times when you're, like, unconscious on the operating room and you're like, "Oh, you the helpless feeling where you're, like, putting all your trust in someone else, like the doctors and everyone else, all the nurses, everyone at that hospital to take good care of you." But that's definitely a good exercise in, letting go and trusting in, the universe or the divine God, whatever you believe in to bring you to your highest good, and just letting go and realizing that, that you can't have control over everything, and that's okay to just release that and trust that other people are doing their job and have your best interests at heart, and that everything's going to be okay, you know? And, another one, I think another common fear, I'm just using these as examples, for me recently with surgery is, there's the fear that you're gonna die, you're not gonna wake up after after surgery or some complications, like during surgery or after surgery, but again, like, ask yourself, "Well, what's the worst that could happen?" It's like, well, you could die, but then what happens, right? Um, you know, if you're not a religious person, you think, it's just eternal slumber, right? You're not going to feel any pain anymore. And if you are like religious or spiritual or whatever you believe in, the divine or God, heaven, you know, that's definitely, something I believe in, so it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to heaven, and it's gonna be a really nice place, so that's not gonna be too bad, or again, what's the worst that could happen? Like, oh, maybe I'll die on the operating table, but they'll revive me, and will that really be so bad? I would have again, it would be an adventure. If that happened, I'd have a really good, YouTube topic to talk about everything I saw while I died for those few minutes until they revived me. So, humorous things like that. Always thinking about my YouTube channel. But yeah, the stuff like that. So when you take the question to what's the worst that could happen and just keep repeatedly asking it over and over, lots of times you're conquering your fears that way by thinking of the worst case scenario and letting your mind run rampant and embracing the fears and anxiety on one hand, but also realizing that oftentimes um, the worst that could happen in those fears and anxieties is kind of like a not as bad as you think it's going to be, or kind of a humorous situation at the end. So it's kind of like I like that strategy a lot because it's a combination kind of embracing your fears and anxieties and not ignoring them, but giving them acknowledgement and credit and embracing them, but also kind of realizing that at the end, there could be a positive, definitely a positive outcome to everything. And whatever you're experiencing that you're afraid of is probably more going to end up as an adventure, a learning experience, and sometimes even a bit humorous afterwards after you experience it. And it's probably never as bad as you think it is going to be. And either way, you will come through that experience as a stronger, more powerful, enlightened being. So, I hope this info is helpful. I would love to hear all your guys' thoughts in the comments. Like, write down what some of your biggest fears are, and then what's the worst that could happen. I would love to hear all about it, and those would lead to some really fun um, discussions in the comment section. So definitely don't be afraid to put your comments in there. And my contact info is in the description box, and feel free to contact me at julie@juliekaylin.com whenever you would like, just to say hi, or if you would like to work with me anytime, I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much again, everybody, for all the love and well wishes. I am back and feeling a lot better and feeling much more fearless and much less anxious, because when you ask what's the worst that could happen, you come to some positive, enlightened. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I just want to end this video, but good to be back again. Thank you so much, everybody, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, I am wishing you much happiness and joy, and have a great rest of the day. All right. Bye.